back to another video. In today's video, I thought I would share with you what I've been reading in January. I hope you've been enjoying the winter. It doesn't usually snow a lot where we live, but it's gotten very, very cold when it was quite mild before that. So we had a pretty mild winter until now, but it actually feels like winter, so I don't mind so much. Anyway, so I thought I'd share with you what I've been reading in January. I didn't get through as much as I would have liked to. We had a super busy month, like being sick, and then lots of other things happened. I started teaching a class, which is a super awesome opportunity, but I had less time for reading. So I only got through 3 things, and I haven't gotten through the 3rd thing, lastly, and you'll see why again. So the first book that I wanted to talk about was My Antonia. I read it for my church book club. It's not something that I ever would have picked up on my own, I don't think, because I'm just not usually very attracted to 20th century American literature, which I feel vindicated in my lack of attraction to that genre of literature by reading this. I remember we were supposed to read it in high school, and the teacher just showed us the movie, which isn't a very helpful way to engage a story. So the main thing that I don't like about 20th century literature as a rule is that it's very depressing. It seems like the only thing that's acceptable to write about in the 20th century is like sadness and tragedy and like the dark evil side of human nature, and that's not really motivating for me in reading any story. So I kind of disagree with the basic assumptions of this book, but on the other hand, it's very, very well written. It's a very well crafted story, and I can see why people consider it literature. I can see why it's part of the literary canon, just because it's very masterfully, very artfully written. But that doesn't mean that I have to like it, and I don't really like it. I am still not inspired to read more 20th century American literature. But I think the most interesting thing about it was that I didn't even tell you what it's about. So it's about this Czech family that moves to the Kansas prairie and kind of their interaction with the main character and his family and how they get established there on the prairie. So it's interesting to see that period of time, and the author, I suppose, grew up sort of in that time period on the prairie. So it really is educational in like that period of American history and how people lived back then. But it's super depressing, and I didn't enjoy it very much, and I only got halfway through and I gave up. So I can see why it's literature. I can see why, like high schoolers would be required to read it, but I don't exactly recommend it. So that was one that I got through in January. So the second book that I wanted to talk about is this one. It's called The Rose and the Thistle by Laura France, and it's a historical fiction. I picked this up super randomly. I was on like a Thrifty Books website, and it was like under $5, and I thought that the synopsis sounded interesting, so I threw it in my cart. This is a historical fiction book, and it's set in the period of the Jacobite Rebellion, which is the Catholics trying to retake the throne in England in the early 18th century, which they were unsuccessful, which we know from history. But it's a very interesting period of time to me, so I'm pretty sure that's why I picked it up, because the synopsis sounded interesting. And it's this noblewoman, a gentleman's daughter from England, and she has to flee to southern Scotland because her father's under persecution because he's a Catholic sympathizer. And so it's got this kind of like Catholics versus Protestants sort of conflict going on in the country. But what I didn't know when I picked it up is that it's a historical romance, and I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I had known that, because I'm not generally a romance person, but the history sounded super interesting to me. And I think it says a lot that I was a good 1/3 of the way through the story before I realized that it was going to be a romance story. And I think that says a lot for the writing. It means like she's not relying on tropes. She's not playing up some corny things to get you hooked in, but she really is interested in the history. I think that the author is related to, she said she's a direct descendant of George Hume of Wedderburn Castle, which is where this heiress sort of has to flee to. And the history is super interesting. I think the characters and the setting were all really good. I haven't enjoyed a contemporary novel as much as this one in quite a while, so I definitely recommend it if you're interested in like that part of English history and just want like a fun novel to read, I've had a really good time with this one. Yeah, I will definitely want to read more from this author in the future. I actually already took out some of hers from the library, but I don't know if I'll get to them super soon because, like I said, I've been really busy, but I've really enjoyed that one. So the last book that I was working on in January is the Iliad, and I've talked about the Iliad several times now, but I'm finally back to making progress on this. I set it down for kind of November, December to take a break for the holidays, and then January just hit us like a train, so I didn't really have time to get back to it until lately, but I'm finally back to it. I'm finally making progress through it again, and I'm so happy because progress means that you're gonna finish it. So my strategy for getting back to reading the Iliad is that I was poking around on the internet one day and I saw this, I don't know, this concept, I guess, that is kind of for homeschool moms, which I'm not a homeschool mom yet, but I like the idea of it. You can create sort of a morning basket for yourself. So you put in there all of these things that are important to you that you want to get to every day. Yeah, it can just help you to get to those things each and every day because they're all in one place. They're all ready for you in the morning, first thing when you wake up. And that's been really helpful. I've been actually reading my Bible a lot more. I've been reading a devotional a lot more, writing in my journal. Like I put all of these things in one place. And one of those things was the Iliad and my commonplace book to take notes while I read. And so I've been reading just a very little bit each day and actually making a ton of progress. Like just those little incremental steps will get you where you need to go. So I've been enjoying it a lot again. We're kind of in a lull of the battle action, which is nice because then you get to talk about something other than like people dying. So yeah, so that's been a really good time getting back to the Iliad. I'm hopefully going to finish it up soon as I can. And then I'll be able to put the Odyssey in my morning basket and finally get onto that great story, which I'm much more excited about. So I've been enjoying that. Hopefully we'll finish that soon. Okay, secondly, I think that I'd like to share some books that I'm excited about for reading in February. I really rather doubt that I'll get to all of these, but I'm excited to look at all of them, so I wanted to share them with you. The first one is this novel, which despite having a bookmark in it, I haven't started yet. It's The Throne of Jade by Naomi Novik, and it's the sequel, well, this is a series, so this is book 2 of the Temeraire series, and I read the first book of the Temeraire series last summer, and it was like one of my favorite reads of the entire year. It was so good, I couldn't put it down. So it has this really like old-timey, I don't know, old-timey, like sort of classic fantasy cover, and it's so different than the new covers that they're making for this series. So I don't know if I ever would have picked it up if I had seen it with this cover, because I would have been like, oh, that's just high fantasy, I don't care about that, and sort of looked over it. Yeah, but no, they're super good, and I'm really excited to get back into this one. It's set in the Napoleonic Wars, where England is fighting France. They basically use dragons in combat, and it's sort of like what that looks like, and there's, you know, the main character dragon and his like dragon rider, and it talks about their like adventures. But this one, they're like gonna be on a journey to China, and I'm super excited to read that. And I've been being very patient and not starting it yet because I had other things that I needed to get to, like my Antonia, but now I think I can finally start it, and I think that's gonna be on top of my list. Camera died there, sorry. Let's see. Another one that I took out from the library lately is Miracles by C.S. Lewis. And I'm not sure if I'm going to start this one. I actually want to be reading The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis, but they didn't have it, so I picked this one up instead. But you can always just pick up a little bit of C.S. Lewis, right? Like, it's never not worth your time to read a little bit more C.S. Lewis. So I might start this one, but maybe I can find The Problem of Pain, because that's the one that I'm more interested in lately. I'm more interested in pain than in miracles lately, which sounds like fun, right? So I don't think that I'll finish this, but I might start it just because it's the one that I have. So these last ones are just kind of for fun. They're not really like books that you read through page by page, but I've been enjoying these a lot lately. I got this one for Christmas from my mom. It's the illustrated book of Shakespeare verse. And I absolutely love, love, love this book because it's so beautiful. And I'm going to shoot some shots so that you guys can see the wonderful paintings inside. And there's just sonnets and snippets from the plays and just like all this beautiful prose and like, or not prose, all this beautiful poetry. And I was like, I've been saying all year that I want to be reading more poetry. And this is just such a wonderful, engaging way to read a bit more poetry. It's not that serious. It's super beautiful. You can just flip to any page and enjoy some beautiful verse and like become more familiar with Shakespeare. And I just love the gorgeous illustrations. They were chosen really beautifully, like to go with the poems that they're with. And I've just been enjoying the heck out of this book because it's so beautiful. It's like, I just want to pick it up all the time because it's so gorgeous. I've been really loving that. And on a similar note, is this book called A Victorian Posy, Penhaligon's Scented Treasury of Verse and Prose. And it came in this sweet little box here. And it's sort of set up like it's a Victorian, like marble paper edition. But guys, I got this at the library for like $1. And it's also gorgeous. Like it has these beautiful prints in it. It's a Victorian Posy, right, is the name of the book. All of the poems are about nature and flowers, and they're divided into the 4 seasons. So it's all of this classic poetry. Like we got Tennyson, of course. We've got Robert Louis Stevenson, Emily Dickinson, Robert Bridges, a lot of romantic era Victorian poetry about flowers and nature. And it's like, you can find the most wonderful stuff secondhand. And like, if you just dig around a little bit, you can find just fabulous things that I never would have thought to buy this new off of the shelf. But the fact that I could pick it up for like $1 at the library sale is, I don't know, it's just a wonderful thing. And I was so happy to have it. And again, like integrating a little bit more poetry and a little bit more beauty into your life. So I was really excited about that one. And the last thing I wanted to share, I just got yesterday. So I'm just super excited to share this. This is not really a reading book, but I love it so much. My mom got it for me. It's Artful Botanical Embroidery by Alice mgebben. My mom just sent me this in the mail and I can't stop looking at it. It's so pretty. I don't do a ton of embroidery. Like, I'm not like an embroidery buff or something, but this book is just so gorgeous. I just can't wait to start one of these projects, and I've been enjoying how gorgeous all of the designs are and the colors, and I was just so happy and excited to get this guy in the mail. Just one of those things that you enjoy flipping through, and I want to make every project in this book, but you know that's not going to happen. So hopefully I'll be able to work on something in here soon because they're just so wonderful. So after that enormous pile, I guess that's all that I have to share with you today. My January reads and then what I'm looking forward to in February. Thanks for hanging out with me here today and talking about books with me. Tell me what you've been reading in the comments. I'd really love to hear, what do you like to read this time of year? Like January, February is a great time for staying inside and reading. So yeah, share that with me and I'd love to have a conversation with you. So yeah, thanks for joining me.